It is a special edition of the latest news to keep you in the groove with Maya. And Maya, tell us who's on the line with us today.
Colin Donnell.
Oh my gosh, Colin Donnell, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Oh man, we are so good. Even better now that we're talking to you. Maya, take it away, girl.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for calling in. I'm so excited to be talking to you. You've been a dream interview of mine, so.
Ah, yay! Well, thanks for having me. I of all the people that you have had on this show, though, I mean, that means a lot to me because you've had some awesome people on your show.
Thank you. Yeah, so my first question for you is who or what inspired you to start acting?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. So, I'll make it a very quick story because I know that we don't have days. But when I was in high school, I broke my ankle playing football. And I was never going to be a very good football player as it was anyways. But then my mom suggested that I go and try out for the musical that was happening at my high school because they were doing a production of a show called Barnum where they needed circus performers and I could juggle. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll go and juggle and maybe I'll sit in the back of the theater and juggle on do whatever while everybody else is doing the actual stuff. The choir teacher at the school, after I showed them how I could juggle, said, "Do you sing?" And I was like, "No, I don't. Sorry." She was like, "Cool. Why don't you, what about Happy Birthday? Can you sing Happy Birthday for me?" Well, I sang Happy Birthday for her, and she saw something in me that I never really knew, which was that I could sing a little bit. I mean, I sang around the house and stuff, but whatever. This is turning into a long story already. But basically, that was it. Her name was Karen Flasher. She's unfortunately passed away since then, but she was a wonderful person, and she was one of the biggest, along with my parents who were so supportive of what I've always wanted to do since then. She was really sort of the catalyst for what became a career, and I fell so hard in love with acting from that one experience that after that I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And luckily, knock on wood, I've been able to do it ever since.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you played Tommy Merlin in Arrow. And that is one of my favorite shows. I'm obsessed with it. And Tommy was my favorite character. So the season 1 finale broke my heart. My mom actually, when I watched it, I was just by the end of it, I was just in tears. And my mom came down and she was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "They got rid of Tommy." What was your favorite part about working on a superhero show?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. Tommy was pretty awesome, and I loved playing him during the first season. And at least if he had to go out, they sent him off in a really kind of epic, awesome way, which I was always really glad for. And your story is kind of what I hear a lot from the fans of Arrow, which is awesome to me. And to know that the character had such a lasting impact really is my favorite thing about being on the show. And I was so happy that over the course of the next 7 seasons of the show, until it came to its end, they kept bringing me back, and it was always such a treat. We always knew that it was going to be a treat for the fans, but really it was the biggest treat for me because I got to come back and hang out with all the people who I had grown to love over the course of that first season. I took away some really great friends from the show. Steven is still such a good friend of mine. Katie and Colton and Emily and David. That whole cast and crew were just such wonderful people. And I loved going back to Vancouver where they shot the show because it always meant that I was going to have, I was always going to have a great time with everybody and really just catch up with old friends. So that was my favorite part. It was like, I always say that I consider myself lucky if I take one friend away from every job that I've done. And on that show, I walked away with a whole family of friends. It was awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I get very attached to fictional characters, so I got very attached to Tommy.
You're not alone, Maya. I do too.
So you were in the series Chicago Med.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest challenge in playing a trauma surgeon?
I think at the beginning of it all, it was all the stuff. There was, we were one of the things that we always tried to do was be as real with the medicine and the terms and all the action and stuff. But there's this weird blending when you're doing a medical show on TV of what the real life medicine is and what the TV magic medicine is. So at the beginning, there's this huge learning curve of trying to figure out how to make the things that are not real look as real as possible. And at the very beginning, it kind of wrapped my mind in this whole weird wormhole of despair. not quite despair, but it was a very it was a learning process, and we all had to figure it out, and we all sort of attacked it with as much respect to the medical community, because we knew that we were trying our best to pay homage to the people that are actually doing these things. And that was a big privilege of the show, to know that we were representing a community of heroes.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And just really fast, talking about Arrow, I actually have an Arrow necklace that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks. I bought it a couple months ago when I was not having the best day, and I really haven't taken it off since I got it. So.
I love it. Does it have an inscription on it?
It says, "You have failed this city."
I love it. I mean, you have not failed this city, but...
Thank you. Yeah, my mom was saying anybody who sees that and hasn't seen the show is going to think it's the worst motivational necklace ever. So it's like, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you formed the 1920 with Brian Yusufer. I hope I'm saying his last name right.
You nailed it, and a lot of people don't.
Okay. Yeah, I said it right. So I love your music.
Thank you.
What is your songwriting process like?
It's interesting. For that album especially, I've never really learned how to write music. A lot of times it starts with me just kind of sitting down with my guitar. I'm a guitar player as well as singer, so it really just kind of starts with just kind of messing around with my guitar, and all of a sudden I'll play something that I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And then I'll keep playing it over and over and over again, which I'm sure really just probably bugs the heck out of my wife, Patty. But but it's things just sort of start to turn. I mean, sometimes that's the way it happens. Sometimes I'll hear somebody say something that sticks in my head, and I'll write it down on my phone, or I'll write it in my little songwriting notebook. In fact, I have my songwriting notebook right here. This is where I do a lot of the recording. So and you can see it's just full of lyrics. Some of them are not very good. But that, I'll just start writing stuff out, and I'll start kind of thinking of, I'll start singing some melodies in my head, and all that stuff will sort of over time congeal into a song of sorts. And that's really where Brian, where the genius of Brian takes over, is that I'll send him something, and he'll be like, "That's great. Keep going down that path," or we'll meet on Zoom like this, because I think I've said this in other interviews before, but Brian and I wrote that entire album, recorded, mixed, mastered, everything, without ever actually being in the same room together. So yeah, I'll send him stuff. We'll meet over Zoom, and we'll sort of put all of our thoughts together and work on a song for, sometimes it happens in a week, sometimes it happens over the course of a few months. But yeah, I don't know if I really answered your question, but I think that's how it works.
Oh, cool. So is there a song that you've written that means the most to you?
Yes, actually. But it's not one of the ones that's on the album. I wrote a song that I ended up, I think I put it on Instagram maybe. I just had, my wife and I just welcomed our first child into the world this past year. Her name is Cecily. She's 8 months old. And before she was born, I got this idea for a song, and it ended up being a lullaby for her. And I love it. It was so much like it. I wrote the whole thing in like probably half an hour, and it was one of the first things that I got to sing for her for a long time when she was very, very little, talking like days and weeks old. I would put her down to sleep, and I would take her upstairs at the, when it was time to go to bed, and I would walk around the room until she was tired. But I would always sing to her I would sing to her lullaby that I had written her. And I don't know when or if I'm ever going to record it for real, but for now it's hers and hers alone.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you've been in a lot of theater and musical theater productions. What is the best part about live theater?
The audiences. There's just something, I love doing television, I love doing film, but there's something that I don't know if I can really put it into words. There's just something so cool about having an audience out there, sort of like we're live on this right now and people are watching it, and anything can go wrong. Hopefully it won't. But there's just something so immediate, and there's something so fun, and like, even though you're doing the same show 8 times a week, the people that are sitting out there are seeing that show for the very first time. So everything you're doing is brand new to them. And it's wonderful, and it's exciting, and I miss it very, very much. Once I know that theater and live performances are going to be back once everybody starts. Yeah. It's coming back. And I can't wait for it, because it's an important part of our culture, and it's an important part of everything. And I think that the world needs live performance to be a happy place. And I'm excited that I get to be a part of it.
Oh, cool. Yeah. What was it like to be on Broadway?
Just awesome. It's it's so awesome. It was before I ever even thought about getting into before I ever thought that I would do television or film or anything like that. The goal was always to be a working actor in New York, hopefully someday on Broadway, and I've been lucky enough to do it a few times now, and there's just nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. It's awesome. It's not the only theater in the world. Definitely not. Like every theater across America and across the world is awesome and valid, but there is something really special about doing something on Broadway that I just love. I love it so much.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Broadway musical?
That I've done or that I've seen or anything in between?
Yeah. Anything.
Um, one of my favorite shows that I've done was Anything Goes that I got to do with Sutton Foster and Joel Grey. That was an incredible experience. It was my first leading role on Broadway, and it was just such a cool, just awesome experience. And some of the greatest moments that I've had watching a show, seeing Hamilton for the first time was mind-blowing. Watching Hadestown. I know you've had Chris Sullivan on the show, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was in the off-Broadway production of Hadestown before it came to Broadway. And man, that guy was amazing. He is amazing. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love sitting in the audience of a theater. I am such a huge fan of things. I'm just a fan. Like I love watching people do stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I am quarantine has given me a chance to really discover all these Broadway soundtracks and just become obsessed. So my goal is to one day go see a Broadway show.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'll tell you what. I've got a show I did a show in San Diego a year and a half ago now. It's a musical adaptation of the movie Almost Famous, which if you haven't seen the movie, see the movie. It's awesome. And the goal is that we are going to be opening on Broadway once all this comes back. So maybe, maybe I can be your first experience on Broadway. Just saying.
Yes, I would love that. So you've been in so many different things. Is there a project or a character that you've played that you've related to the most?
Oh, the most? I don't know. One of the fun things about the different stuff that I've gotten to do is that all the characters are pretty, I mean, there's elements of me in them because I'm me, but they're all pretty wildly different. Tommy was a billionaire playboy. I'm definitely not that. But there's, I always find that the characters end up having beautiful, redeeming qualities about them. And I like to think that that's a little bit of what I bring to it, is that there is a good side to them no matter how bad they are. And sometimes I do play some bad guys. But, I like to think that I'm bringing a little bit of humanity and humor to them. I just got to do a movie called Almost Love. My friend wrote and directed the film, and he got to let me be He let me be funny in it. I don't do a lot of comedies, but that was a fun comedy.
Oh, cool. So what song do you have on repeat on your playlist?
Oh man. This might seem weird for me, but I love Driver's License.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard it, I listen to a lot of pop music when I'm working out. It's just what I love to listen to when I'm working out. And the first time that song came on, I was in the middle of going to work out, or I was about to start working out, and I sat there and I was like, this is awesome. And then about halfway through the song, I was like, this is fantastic. And then I started crying, and I was like, why am I crying at this song? It's that good. It's so good.
Yeah. 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 So, what show are you currently binge watching?
Ooh. I think the most recent one that we binge watched was Ted Lasso, with Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We laughed and just had a great time. It's such a sweet, sweet show. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I besides binge watching Arrow, my mom and I are watching a show called All American,
Ooh.
which is on the CW, and it's very good.
It's about the football players, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check it out. It's going on the list.
And yeah, Ted Lasso is going on our list. So
Good.
So when you're having a bad day, what do you do to like cheer yourself up?
I listen to a lot of music especially if I'm having kind of a tough day, and oddly enough, it helps me to listen to kind of sad music, and that gets me through. I spend, and now I try to make my baby laugh, and that makes me feel a lot better. But yeah, I'll have some candy. I have a huge sweet tooth, so I'll let myself just like dive into a bag of candy, and I'll put on some music and hang out with the baby, and I just kind of let myself feel a little bad for a little while, and usually that takes care of it.
Yeah, I have a whole playlist of songs like when I need to be cheered up, and like just this upbeat playlist, and then there's songs that like when a playlist like when I just need to cry that I'll listen to.
I totally feel you on that. Sometimes you just need to cry, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. But actually when like I need to like feel better, like I'm having so much anxiety and I need to like take my mind off everything, I actually watch Arrow. And my mom is like always so confused about it. She's like, but it's such a dark show. And it's I'm like, yes, but it's a very like one of those shows you need to actually concentrate on to know what's happening.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Whatever works to help you, get out of a funk.
Yeah, I watch it when I need to get out of my head, and so.
I love that.
So, thank you for being a part of the show and for playing my favorite character.
Thanks for being a fan. Thanks for making Tommy your favorite character. I love that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, what not so great movie do you secretly love?
Oh my God. You know what I really love? I love really trashy action movies. Like when I'm just I can never watch them with my wife because I feel too bad for making her sit through them. So if I'm up late and I can't sleep or I'm just, by myself or away working or whatever, I'll find some really random like 1970s, 1980s like terrible action film that has no story, just a bunch of fight sequences, maybe some car chases. It doesn't really matter. I just want to like zone out for 90 minutes and watch some
Yeah.
bad action. I love it. I love it.
Cool. Yeah. My family and I, we love like around the holidays, we love just like watching all Christmas movies, and like we love finding really bad ones. So that's our favorite thing to do, just find really bad Christmas movies
Wait,
to
what's
watch.
your favorite bad Christmas movie? I need to know this.
Oh, okay. So there was one that we watched that my mom and I watched called Holiday in Handcuffs. That wasn't great. And then my sister, because we kept saying like how bad it was, she was like, okay, I want to see this because we watched it without her. So we just rewatched it a couple months ago. And then afterwards, we were like, okay, that still isn't great, but it's not as bad as we remember it being. So we're like, okay, it was kind of cute. So that's not really like answering your question, but
Awesome.
yeah. So my last question for you is, who do you consider to be a real life superhero and why?
Well, I got a couple answers for that. So my first answer is my daughter, and also Patty, my wife, as well. The two of them together are the ultimate superheroes to me. So when being there for when my daughter was born was just amazing and blew my mind and made me feel so much love and respect, and it was awesome. Our daughter was actually born with a heart condition, and she had a hole in her heart. Everything is great. She had surgery when she was 10 weeks old, and she came through amazingly. And so that leads me to the second part of my answer is that doctors, nurses, hospital staff, everybody who's watching this show right now that is in the hospital and taking care of all the patients there, I can't thank you all enough for what you do, and it makes me so happy that there are people in the world who love human beings enough to take care of them and make them want to want to see them get better. And thanks to people like that, we have our daughter, and she's healthy and wonderful and growing up, and she'll have a neat little chest scar for the rest of her life, and it's going to be a daily reminder for us that there are people who spotted what was going on before she was born and made sure that she was going to be all right in the future for us. So she's my little superhero. She's awesome. And the people who took care of her and really all the all the everybody who walks within the halls of the hospital from top to bottom. No matter what you do, you're there and you're working for the betterment of everybody. And y'all are just heroes, straight up.
Yeah, I'm so happy that your daughter is okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I just want to keep adding questions because I don't want to hang up. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Maya.
Yeah.
Well, we have had such a good time, and don't worry, Maya will keep us updated on your whereabouts and where we can find you on the big screen, on the stage, on wherever it might be. So we will keep following you, and thanks for spending so much time with us here at Children's Hospital Colorado.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.